Got lots of love. Got lots of love.
Sitting in a 4v3.
Everfrog Esports trying to find the angle they can, trying to find somebody out of position.
We're gonna go through on this. Oh, what a wall. We're gonna take flag. See why it's gonna go in.
It's going to be a really, really interesting one.
Oh my god. All of this competition could be so damn close, so I cannot wait for us to finally decide who's going to be the champion. We are expecting some chaos, some great moments.
A beast mode has killed 3. Only gonna really need that rampage, so it's gonna clear it out. Santi gonna get us a big old 4K. Oh, Santi's getting rid of 3, clearing out the house.
That is crazy.
Nunji actually kills 3 people.
This team feels entirely different on this faster composition. Now Saga is hanging around, getting onto the high ground. Post bomb's gonna stick under Leaky. You're not gonna be able to survive it at the end of the day. Manages to find a 3K.
Rio shoving this Lana into a corner. Woo! One more for the road for Rio.
That is all signs go. Melophobia with 3. Melophobia started the fight. They'll end the fight. Oh my god. Beagle Bus, they have to play aggressively into this energy, popping off in a moment where you needed just that. Ruby in that backline. Oh, the flick. Looking for it. Oh my goodness. The 4th one as well. Do they get the ace? They get the ace.
Oh, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to CGL here for the playoffs. It has already been a long couple of weeks. A lot of teams already coming down to their grand finals already, but we still have to decide both of our grand finalists in the NA Masters division. Hey, we're going to find one out right here tonight between the Fallen and Atlas Kessoku, teams that had themselves a pretty good regular season, both having an amazing run in the upper bracket. And now, Megalabs, one of these teams will have that first spot in the grand finals where just for a little bit, they get to relax.
Yeah, and that's obviously the hope. The name of the game here is to earn that grand final spot. Obviously, the point of the winners finals here. If we get a quick look at the bracket, you can see how we got here. The Fallen have had a pretty interesting run, to say the least here, because they came into this a bit of an underdog, right? The number 5 seed immediately upsetting the number 1 seed in that 5-knot banger, and then doing it back-to-back against Vesuvius there as well. So certainly been playing upset all tournament long. Meanwhile, Atlas, you know, they've been known as a constant all season long here, so not surprised to see them in the slightest. And also, Hunter, if you look down, you know, we talk about winning, but the loser does have Visored waiting for them, and I'm sure that's a team hungry for revenge.
100%. I would not want to fall down against a Visored team that has been on a generational run through that lower bracket. Yes, they've had some close calls, but those have been against really tough teams the entire way there. So we'll see what the situation is. Obviously, want to just win this game, be able to relax from here on out, and be able to watch that game and just get as much information as humanly possible. We'll see whether or not that's going to be the case, but of course we have a lot of games happening here in CGL. We've already had some action throughout the day, as we have a map 5 going down over on CGL 1 between Death Blossom and Shelby's team. That is a banger right now. I believe that's also, an upper final, but I could be very mistaken at the end of the day, but it's been a banger. I've enjoyed watching it, and the Fallen and Atlas Kessoku, we're hoping is going to go the exact same way.
Exactly. You know, it's going to be the late night banger, as it were. But hey, listen, we're all NA except for, you know, the Observer, but we don't talk about that. You know, British people don't have sleep schedules. But yeah, it should be a very interesting one here. Like you said, playoffs. It's been, you know, it feels like a long time just because of like the split, you know, starting before the holidays and stuff like that. But like you said, these brackets are winding down. You're starting to figure out these finalists, and really this is where it all comes to shine. The entire season's all being hit on its head.
Yep, 100%, and we're starting out things with commonality, as Lijiang Tower is going to get us started here. It's not a shocker in the absolute slightest. teams are likely going to go down a lot of that rush route. But we've seen the way the meta has shifted, especially you go through OWCS weekend. A lot of teams I've already seen have made slight adjustments to their composition. Some teams tried to integrate the Symmetra, some trying to ignore it entirely and stick to their own style. It's kind of been a mishmash. I haven't been able to see either of these teams since that time. I'm curious to see if anything does change up, but I imagine at the stage of the game that we're in, I imagine they're both likely just going to stick to their guns.
Yeah, and I wouldn't fault them for that in the slightest here. The only way that you'd want to get off of what you're standard and expecting is if it's banned out, right? Because obviously it's that double-edged sword when you realize something's meta, right? Trying to include it a little too quickly can be a bit dangerous. You know, you're playing with fire in that sense. If you can make it work, then sure, you'll grind out the meta with the best of them. But if you're not understanding the fundamentals of the comp, it can certainly throw you asunder here. That being said, regardless of meta, Sim is always a solid pick on Lijiang Tower, even if it's just teleporting out of spawn. But expanding beyond that, she can do a lot of damage on a lot of these maps here, moving teams around and stuff like that. So it'd be interesting to see if this character does remain unbanned.
True. I mean, for a large majority of the tanks, it can be a real hassle to deal with. There are obviously a lot of really safe choices to get things started. Now, this Kessoku, as that time is winding down, they're going to get rid of the Cassie, which, to be fair, Cassidy does have a lot of effectiveness as a character. It protects your other DPS slots as well. So if you wanted something like the Echo, like the Pharah, that does get rid of one of those very viable tools of stopping it.
Yeah, taking the Cassidy out, like you said, it enables your flyers to come back into the mix. It also enables your flankers, like your Tracer and Genji, to breathe a little bit easier here. Of course, that does also tend to lean towards, meaning Atlas might want to play other hit scan options like the Sojourn we've seen be so prevalent across metas and things like that. Sojourn, it's just good. You know, you slide, you shoot rail shots, things like that. It's just great. But for the Fallen here, waiting to see what they ban out. Be interesting to see, because we've seen teams throw away bans on random nonsense, but I don't think Fallen's going to be that team because Kiriko's gone.
Yeah, Kiriko's honestly a really fair ban. It's kind of a go-to for a lot of these speed compositions. This might force teams to go down the route of either the Baptiste or the Juno, which both I think are still relatively comfortable, but don't pair up as easily with certain tanks. Like you think of Ramatra, you think of Junker Queen, where that Juno is just, it feels so optimal when you pair things up with that Kitsune Rush. But we'll see what the adjustment's going to be. I think the Fallen, obviously, going to this might be more comfortable using potentially something as simple as that Bap Lucio style. Obviously, it is all speculation until we get into things at last. But you see both of our squads here before us. They are ready to go at it. This is a spot for the grand finals. Losers gonna have to fight for their life against Vizard. And I mean, again, with the way Vizard is playing, I mean, this is a defining game for both teams.
I'm not trying to call you out on broadcast, but is it Vizard? Because I've always thought it was Visor. Like, I thought it was just Tactical Visor.
It could be, honestly. You were likely correct. I see the S and my brain goes like, it goes down that Z sound.
See, I like, as soon as I heard you say Vizard, you know, like the lizard meme that popped up for a bit? Yeah. That's immediately what I thought of here. But listen, there's no lizard heroes in Overwatch yet, unless you're counting our favorite frog, which that's not really a lizard, that's an amphibian. But you know what? Close enough.
We do need a lizard in Overwatch, Loki.
What if it's just like an actual lizard? Like, what if it?
I'm fine with that. Let's go.
Like, there's no abilities or anything. It's just like a Komodo dragon walking around the battlefield. I think that'd be pretty chill.
That 6v6 right there. It's just gonna be a Komodo walking around on both squads.
But actually not walking around on either squad. Well, actually walking, should I say, is going to be these flex supports here who are going to be on the Baptiste since Kiriko is banned out, opting in for a more sustainable healing, but definitely making you much more of a dive target for both of these compositions here. And at least in the spawn room, we might have a read with Atlas starting out on the Zarya here, whereas Perf is on the D.Va.
Yep, and we have seen that Zarya v D.Va matchup, and to be fair, it's kind of gone both ways. You would figure the situation has to be very dominant towards that Zarya, but honestly, it depends how well that charge is really given to the Zarya. So if Vegimama is able to kind of manage those bubbles really well, she's going to get a ton of effectiveness in that room. We already have a trade out right out the gate. Riku and Nyan Mudkip being taken out, and eventually Spectre's just going to walk in, clear out House. Perf has to take the reset eventually. Good call, as eventually a little bit of stall, but Atlas Kessoku got this point on lock.
Yeah, and like you said, it's all about making sure that Zarya actually gets up to high charge to be a lethal threat there, and Edgy Mom was able to do just that, so now immediately Perf. Picking the stylistic swap over to the Ramatra here, I like this with the Symmetra just because it means you're going to be mobile and a little bit unpredictable, and punishing of the Zarya.
Yeah, and there's no way Edgy Mommy survives this. Is somehow still alive, by the way. I am not sure how Queso manages to get away with that at all, and Perf actually goes down, boop, onto Benno. And this fight's over. There's nothing you can do. You have to run for the hills, try to get everybody out alive. Unfortunately, as Dex does get Rico on the way out, everyone's just going to get staggered out anyway.
Yeah, the stagger onto Wander here makes it so Riku will be able to get back into the fight here. Like you said, though, in that fight, they had the tools. They had Edgy Mom dead to rights there, caught in the slow field and everything, but just too much here. Now, potentially an early TP. His teammates aren't back yet.
Ooh, Benno down. That really sucks right there. So now, again, you have to wait this out, back out, and Spectre's able to just be aggressive so easily. Now they're gonna have a ton of ults, and Perf is down again. This is a really strong start for Kessoku.
Yeah, absolutely what we expect here now. They built up to a healthy ult economy to go alongside it here. You have the Graviton Surge, you have this Death Blossom as well. Potent combo for sure, especially but with the teleport in, they're already on point for the Fallen.
100%. Spectre gonna go and manages to get one with that Death Blossom. Unfortunately, Perf, not long for the world. We're gonna see the reset likely coming here. Benno does manage to get rid of Edgy Mom, which is honestly one of the best targets possible. But Spectre, again, eventually is going to end things, and Perf not gonna get out of here alive. So now 85% on the board. You are likely just gonna have to see a quick TP to this point.
Yeah, as we see Riku trying to go to the spawn to get a kill here, at the very least forcing Immortality Field, but very bold approach here to say the least from the Venture player.
And Riku off the edge, unfortunately. Grab does come through. Everybody pulled in. Perf hanging around. Unfortunately, it's not going to matter. They throw in every single ultimate, and it works out beautifully. And Alice Kessoku take that 100-0. And for the Fallen, I mean, half of that is literally just people being caught out early and them not being able to actually engage in real fights.
Yeah, and it's one of those things of being caught out early. If it happens to you once or twice, sure, absolutely, happens to the best of us. But there were quite a few times there, we see Ben TPing Perf in when it's just the two of them, right? That I don't know if the call isn't made that respawners aren't there in time or something like that, but it's just sort of causing this very noticeable disconnect with the rest of the team, and staggering yourself like that, losing valuable time, just allowed Atlas to run away with that first round here. So Fallen definitely going to have to try to stay more in sync with each other on this second point.
Yep, both going to TP out, and while Benno is going to stick once again, Riku going back over to that Venture was honestly a lot of help before. We'll see if that remains the case. Is Perf happy to be on the Sumatra till Immortality Field already being forced out, so you're going to see the Fallen likely make a push over towards the point here shortly, but instead, you're seeing a collapse in on this squad. Wander is that on their own Immortality Field as the Fallen just trying to get a quick reset in here. Want to be able to build up to that high charge on Benno, and Riku unfortunately gets cut out just before going back in. So now the Fallen with an opportunity to win their first fight of the map so far. Unfortunately, with high charge from the Zarya, Edgy Mom trying to run everybody down. Benno, though, has that tier 3 beam rocking, at least for the moment being. This point is going to flip over as Spectre is eventually going to go down here.
Yeah, finally taken out here. I think one of the biggest things with this switch up is not only the Fallen are all sticking together here, but Yam Mudkip specifically on this Lucio, right, being able to boop away the Reaper and these other high targets when they engage, but already they're back in.
Yeah, this fight's already done and dusted. You're going to get 20% max in this situation, so 20%. Alice Kessoku takes over, and now Edgemami, she's going to have the grab already.
Graviton Surge plus an Amp Matrix to boot if you need the exclamation point on top of it here. Potentially could be massive, but it's already grabbed.
Yeah, 100%. And now Dex already getting rid of 2. And now the Fallen doesn't realistically have to use a thing here. I mean, if you invest right for Kessoku, it's going to be a nightmare. But you're just going to see the quick reset. Riku goes down 25%. This back and forth trading, honestly, you love that if you're the Fallen, especially with the grab no longer being there.
Yeah, I mean, Ben hits the most perfect TP, right? Gets everybody out of harm's way besides the Ramatra, who can definitely tank the damage thanks to those crossed arms, and now Dex just going crazy.
just literally going insane. This is the best decks that I know at Overwatch, as they are just consistently popping off thus far, as 45% and counting. 4 ultimates still on the board. They honestly have the dealer's choice right now.
Yeah, they have everything at their disposal here, and really it's on Atlas to find some way to respond. I feel as though maybe they're going to have to try to get Riku to be a little bit less aggressive on this venture to try to get in.
Yeah, you see that aggression right now. Everyone taking different angles. Dex eventually does go down. Mudkip, though, more than happy to get the follow-up, unfortunately, with Perf being down as well. Spectre gonna just clear this one around. Already gotten rid of 2. TP over onto the point. Benno, not long for the world. Will be able to stall a little bit longer. A little bit of tactical crouch for good measure. 73% now on the board for the Fallen.
Yeah, now I'm trying to see what else the Atlas can get here, right? They had to sort of force their way in. They know that they're going to have to be dealing with these mirrored sound barriers, but Perf trying to speed in with this Annihilation is going to have to be the game plan here, because but speed past the window is the question.
Yep, 100%. Going into the situation, Annihilation forcing everybody back. Edgymon finishing off so many people, but still, Perf trying to keep this fight single-handedly going. You're going to see the engagement right there. Vector, unfortunately, just being taken out before she can accomplish anything, unfortunately. But Riku is more than happy to pick up the slack. You're already getting rid of 2. And with that, the reset eventually going to come online for the Fallen. Perf could potentially stay alive, and Dex is back into the fight. They can recover very quickly.
They can potentially here, but it is easier said than done, especially with Edgymon getting closer and closer to a grab here. They got to make sure there's another teleport ready to go if they're going to be able to get out of this one. And as you saw, it just broke.
Yep, 100% grab comes through. It's basically, it was a solo grab for a moment. That was a bungee pull inside of it, and eventually cleanup going to come online once again. A little bit of stall from Riku, but eventually she is going to get one on the way out, but should realistically be taken care of momentarily. So now, with 95% on the board, this next fight realistically should dictate the round.
Yeah, back and forth affair here, but it's got to end here and now. Fallen in position here. They have this beautiful combo of the Amp Matrix plus the Overclock here. Atlas has to avoid these sight lines to be able to get into the point, but already missing tank.
That is worst case scenario. And now, I mean, you have double DPS ultimates around the corner. Unfortunately, Riku, she's gonna have to just let this rip directly over on the point. Gets pulled down. Eventually, you're gonna see Spectre go there. Unfortunately, has to try to find Slay with the Death Blossom. Man, if that wall was a character, it'd be dead right now. Unfortunately, it's not. It is the stall game for Edgymon and the rest of this Atlas Kessoku squad. Unfortunately, they will be toppled over. We will head to that 3rd round, and Night Market will decide this first map.
Yeah, back and forth exactly like we expected here. That first round, Atlas was able to just sort of keep their foot on the gas the whole way through, but Fallen very adaptable, able to understand the flaws here, as well as playing around things a whole heck of a lot better, right? We saw Dex really coming alive and things like that. But it's just going to be the question of what more can be done here for the Fallen, right? Now that, you know, you've done your symmetric teleport and all around and things like that, how much more are you going to really be able to find value with that now that Atlas really can know the playbook and know that's what's going to happen here?
Yeah, 100%. But not seeing anything change up too much. Riku, though, for the time being, going out on the far, which honestly, I like it. If you are dealing with a Reaper and a Sojourn, honestly, I don't mind that if I'm a far. I love that. And it's going to force someone to have to swap around more than likely if it succeeds in this first fight. But for Kessoku, they still have to make their way over onto the point, cause a bunch of pressure. Unfortunately, Perf really good at forcing everybody to different sides. Separation working out really nicely. Perf already very low. Unfortunately, though, Benno, immediate pick as the Lucios have been taken out of the fight early on. Kessoku eventually can force the way back over onto the point. Bunch of charge for Edgymon. She's going to start running it down. Perf with not a chance in the world, as Atlas Kessoku should realistically take this first fight. The Fallen does have a couple stragglers getting out.
Couple of stragglers indeed here, but Atlas able to hold on here. And I think, again, you have to give props to those Zarya bubbles, right? Not only is it giving Edgymon the energy needed in these fights, but, you know, being able to put a bubble onto Spectre here, giving the advantage in the Reaper duel as well here. You know, obviously the Ramatra has more staying power as a tank, but you don't have that necessary help that you can provide to your teammates with the bubble like Zarya does. Oh!
Ooh, Riku going down. That is the perfect recipe for the Fallen right now. No ultimates even close to save Kessoku. They're going to pull back over towards that corner. Edgymon likely gonna have to have touch momentarily. You see Spectre in the background just gets torn down here by Wander, is gonna pull out that Ant Matrix just to be safer than sorry, and that's gonna be 34% on the board. And honestly, as quick as Wander got that, I don't blame them at all for pulling it.
Yeah, no, like you said, better safe than sorry. You absolutely pull that one here. Now the question is, where does Fallen want to try to play this defense, right? Because obviously you have the overclock and things like that, but, you know, if Atlas makes another quick rotation on Coast, it could be disastrous.
100% it could be, and now you see this investment right here, and Kessoku's not even going to bother. They're going to wait for Dex to be done with this overclock. You see Edgemami is separated. Grab is at the ready. It'd be a risky one to pull out, but with Riku down, and unfortunately, Grab being thrown in, it should clear the rest of the competition away. I think it ends up being a really good use. And now as Benno and Dex close to pulling this one back around, as Wonder falls off the map, what are you doing, good sir? As the Fallen, for the moment, should be able to stabilize.
You know, Wander, we're just going to push past that one. There's nothing else to be said there, L. Atlas is going to be pushing into this one. Again, on the coast, trying to avoid the Sojourn here, but going coast over and over again, starting to delay them a little bit. Now they're going to have to try to expend some tools. Oh, this Blossom's going to be very...
Yeah, I mean, I love the idea. Beat is expanded, Annihilation as well. The Fallen do not want to lose this fight, but Riku also somehow dies. We'll look back at that one later, but for the time being, Perf is going to push up here, and it's going to be really tough to stop Benno from just pushing person after person. Boop onto Edgy Mom, and now this is getting scary. There's no ultimates on the board for either team. Wander, the closest.
Yeah, and Atlas now has to try to push into this with nothing, right? It's just going to be raw firepower here. Edgymom going over to the D.Va just to try to give a little bit more of that defense matrix, that PO potential here. Obviously, there's going to be a touch on the point here, but can it be punished becomes the question as Wander's now missing.
The one person who wasn't able to fall, unfortunately, does, and at this point, Atlas Kessoku are going to realistically take over this point. You still have Perf able to hang around. He's going to have this Nemesis form momentarily as Mudkip somehow gets rid of two, moves off the fellow Lucio, but now it's still two hanging around on the point right now. Gets rid of another,
three!
And it's going to boop them around, take care of business. Mudkip, oh my goodness gracious, almost single-handedly pulls back that fight, and the Fallen will take Lijiang Tower. Never underestimate the Lucio, ladies and gentlemen.
Absolute cinema from Neon Mudkip at the end there. But yeah, overall a close back and forth affair here on Lijiang that tells the tale, right? So far that Fallen, you know, they're willing to adapt and switch not just their character but their playstyle to sort of realize what's in front of them here. Meanwhile, on the other side of the coin, you have Atlas, who, you know, definitely rested on their laurels a little too long and ended up a little too scrambled. Potentially, you know, you see them making these slight mistakes that are starting to cost them simply because they've had this hubris all season long of, hey, we're one of the best, we got this. When you're going up against the opponent like this, you can't underestimate them, not even for a moment.
No, you can't in the slightest. And I think it's very clear from watching this first match that both teams are very neck and neck with each other. There was obviously mistakes from both sides, and the thing to really state is that both teams generally capitalized on the mistakes that were being made. That was really the first time that we saw a genuine clutch in a fight there at the very end from Neon Mudkip. And at this stage of the game, Atlas Kessoku don't need to panic. I think they're doing good right now. I think they need to kind of stick to the guns that they have been showing because it has been working out really well. But now I think this is going to open up the door to the bans a little more, especially map selection as well, as both are going to be in their favor heading into this second one. And this is probably the most powerful point in a series to have that ban, because in this situation, the entire map pool has opened up, the hero pool is entirely opened up, your selections are nearly limitless.
Exactly. And like you said, it's a pretty potent spot to be in because this can dictate the rest of the series here. You definitely want to get yourself back on the board as soon as possible here. So a lot of teams like to go towards something that they're incredibly comfortable with here. And if you can at the same time knock out something you know your opponents maybe would not want, like say there's a specific push map you know that you can thrive on that your opponents necessarily can't, and things like that, that's always going to be the name of the game here. It gives you that advantage. Because again, you don't want to, you know, find yourself slipping. It's so easy to go down 0-2 and find yourself out of a series before you really had a chance to start here. So Atlas definitely going to deliberate on this one in terms of map pick, but also like you said, the bans. There's a lot to consider from that first map, right? Lots of sim play as well as the Ramatra being a menace here. You know, obviously certain map picks can ban those characters out naturally, but having the ban in the back pocket never hurt anybody.
No, it obviously never has. Hopefully, it never will either. But we'll see, because Alice Kessoku obviously given the ability to take their time with this pick, get everything figured out, because it is a really important pick. You said it yourself. It's going to dictate, well, likely the rest of the series. You go down 0-2. It's been a long time since I've seen a team go down 0-2 and recover from that situation. At least exclusively for CGL. It has been a very long time. Honestly, I wouldn't mind seeing it. I haven't seen a reverse sweep in quite a while. It'd be entertaining, but I don't think the Fallen wants that. I think they want to get this done and over with, get into those grand finals, be able to simply watch that lower final go down. But we'll see what the situation is. I'm happy that Kessoku is really taking their time here because, again, we'll keep reiterating because I need to. It's a really important choice. And with Suravasa being the pick, unless the bans affect it, I can realistically see both these teams running almost the exact same comp that they ran that first map.
Yeah, and it, like you said, those compositions can certainly look a lot similar unless the bans dictate differently here. But Suravasa, it's always interesting when it comes up in a series because, again, it's very telling, right? For Atlas to be willing to pick this one out of all of the options they had, it shows that they're confident in their brawl style, whether that ends up being them banning out the Ramatra and trying to force it to be Zarya, or if they play the Ramatra themselves, it shows that they have confidence in the style, which is a good thing to see, especially when you just lost in the style. So not being able to shake yourself as, you know, at your core and just being able to shrug it off and move on potentially could be massive here.
100% it will be. Kessoku still having that first ban ready to go. I think there's a couple of really good selections when you think about it. This could be a situation where maybe they opt to get rid of the Ramatra here on this brawl map. Yes, Ramatra could be saved later down the line, but I think it's a really good selection. You can go back down the support route and try to maybe cut down the Lucio. It's kind of a double-edged sword, but instead, no, the Reaper Boy being taken care of. It is a pretty direct shot onto Benno, who is doing a lot over on that Reaper, and honestly, I think this is a good call. How do you feel?
I mean, like, it's so interesting because Fallen can just go back to playing Sim. They were playing Sim before. It was working out incredibly well for them. The Reaper ban, if anything, it hinders a Zarya composition more because, you know, you're sending in the Reaper with the Zarya bubbles, right? That's sort of the standard, the bread and butter as it stands right now. Maybe you're trying to play a Tracer angle or something like that, but honestly, like, on paper from Atlas, unless you're trying to protect some sort of specific DPS slot, that's a very unique ban that I don't know if it's going to work right away.
Yeah, we'll see what the case is, but no, the big whammy here from the Fallen being taken now, the Zarya ban, has come into effect. And I don't know how to quite feel about this, because obviously this is just a shot onto Edgy Mom to pull out something else, but honestly, as good of a job as she was doing, it was a situation where the Fallen was managing it relatively well. The grabs never had like a massive value. That beat was usually very consistent in keeping people up. I don't hate it, but I do wonder.
You do wonder indeed here, especially what we're going to be seeing on Suravasa, because again, you know, this could be a chance for Fallen to strike while the iron is hot and get themselves a massive chance at a massive lead here in a winner's final situation. But you know, we could also see Atlas absolutely run out on the Ramatra and look flawless on it as well here. So tons of things to consider, especially with, you know, some of the bans from the first map now being back in play, right? You have the Kiriko being selectable for both sides, so that Liu Kiri instead of the Baptiste potentially being a more stable backline that's able to heal people up, as you see both teams already hovered over it. And Dex potentially on the Cassidy instead of the Sojourn here, limiting the range, but definitely can be a lethal pick.
100% it can be. We see out the gate that the Diva once again coming out here, although it's over on the side of Edgy Mom, who, again, she has to kind of just go down a different route. We'll see how it goes, but if you're going to see this pick on Symmetra stay, it could be rough, but no, instead, going to make the swap, I believe. No, stayed on, actually.
Yeah, Riku ends up swapping, but Fallen gonna keep this one. I mean, hey, listen, like I said, you banned out the Reaper, so Ben's just gonna be happy to stick on this sim here, and this is definitely gonna put in damper on Edgy Mom's plans to sort of run over the lobby, right? This D.Va now has to be a little bit careful about going in, because if Ben can build charge for even a second, that defense matrix doesn't mean jack.
100% it doesn't, but let's see what the situation is. For the time being, Fallen has a secure hold on this point, basically going to get it for free. Perf gonna get rid of Lucio, and now, unfortunately for Alice Kessoku, they are gonna get forced back here, and this is gonna be a situation where they simply are gonna have to keep poking away and eventually find somebody. Unfortunately, Riku goes down.
Yeah, and again, it's one of those things where Riku is definitely going in way too aggressively, way too fearlessly. You know, Venture obviously has a lot of tools to get in and out between the burrow and the drill dash, but you can be punished if you're caught in the slow field, ended up hit with a hinder grenade or anything like that. It can absolutely slow your movement to the point you can be an easy pick in these fights, so you have to be a little more reserved on the Venture.
100% you do. 6% on the board. This is already final fight territory for this first round, but Perf has been doing a phenomenal job just kind of holding on to things, but Spectre does get the phenomenal shot to clear things out a little bit. Point. Fear of flipping coming through, but Benno gets another on that Symmetra. Can it just manage things for the time being? Eventually, cleanup comes up online. The Fallen gonna be able to clean this one up brilliantly. They're gonna have 4 ultimates coming around the corner as Edgymom is going to go and replicate the Ramatra.
Yeah, so now we have the official Ramatra mirror here. The difference in the comps now lying in the DPS line. And again, the Fallen, they haven't really need to utilize these Symmetra teleports or anything like that now. Actually created a bit of a disconnect where Perf is now completely on his own.
Yep, 100% Dex, great out the gate. Already going to stop the Kitsune Rush from really having any inherent value. You're just seeing Alice Kessoku being forced out more and more and more, and it's starting to become really difficult to deal with the style that the Fallen had gone with the style that, for as long as I've known this team, for the years on end, through different players, it does not matter. This is the Fallen's bread and butter.
Yeah, the Fallen's bread and butter, but also, you know, the way they were able to sort of rotate and save Perf there from what was to guaranteed be a death, right? I mean, dead to rights, the Kitsune Rush was thrown down and everything from Atlas. They were fully committed to killing that Ramatra, but the Fallen being able to peel back thanks to the Symmetra Teleporter, getting people in position, it's something to certainly consider here with how quickly Atlas can't seem to catch up.
Yeah, this is a really integral fight. Spectre gonna go aggressive, beat, and Kitsune Rush activated for the Fallen. It doesn't want any of that sauce, but Mudkip might be in a bit of a rough situation. Is incredibly low. It's gonna come down to who gets his first pick to change that momentum up. It's gonna be Edgymom who helps get rid of Dex Annihilation. Gonna be activated by Perf. Wants to stay in this one, but a touch eventually needs to come through. The flip is there momentarily as Perf tries to go for the shield instead of hitting the Nemesis form. Goes down as Spectre. She's likely gonna be able to turn this fight around. Has already gotten rid of 2. And that's going to clean things up around us. The supports will remain.
I mean, the Fallen, had that fight, it felt like definitely could have come back into it, but like you said, Perf makes a little keep mistake here, so now Atlas getting to be in control for the first time, and they have some good tools to keep the momentum going, right? They have this tectonic shock where Riku's going to be able to lurk a little bit and send it into the backline, as well as Edgymom with the get out of jail free card known as the Ramatra ult.
Yeah, Shot comes out, wants to get rid of Perf, eventually does succeed at the cost of her own life, but I think they got exactly what they were all looking for as, yeah, Edgymom going to clear things out. It was 75% on the board, everybody getting the reset. I think the Fallen, realistically, they could try to retouch, but this would be impossible, I think.
Yeah, I mean, so it would require like an amazing Symmetra teleport and potentially like some Lucio wall riding tech where, yeah, they're just going to give it up, hand over that point here and see where they have to head next here, hoping it's directly behind them, but that does not seem to be the case as everybody's traversing across the map. If I could speak the English lexicon for a moment, the Fallen will be able to get to the point first, it seems, and they do have the Symmetra barrier to be able to provide some extra defensive capabilities once they're here.
100%. It's going to be really interesting because the mismatch of ults is so weird to deal with. Kessoku realistically has the advantage, but again, Riku down early. Dex has to run away momentarily, but is going to be able to sustain a little while longer. Perf is going to keep just holding on here, and eventually you're going to see the cleanup come through. The Fallen will take this point away for start as Riku gonna give up on the Venture, gonna hit up that Tracer now. Honestly, I like the adjustment.
Yeah, especially because it feels like the Venture was, without the nicest way to put it, it was solved, right? You were getting caught in the slow fields, you were getting hit with the hinders. It was not a pleasant time to be a Venture in that experience here, but the Fallen trying to engage incredibly quickly.
Very quickly. You're going to see a lot being used here. A lot being used here. Both sides using 3 ultimates, and it looks like Atlas Kessoku are going to get the better of it. And you're just going to see the sports die on the point. 43% on the board. Atlas Kessoku literally using everything, but the bright side for the Fallen is they have a beat and nothing to contest it.
Yeah, and so the hope is just getting aggro with this beat for the Fallen, right? Because if Neon chooses to hold on to this one, thinking there's an ultimate lying in wait here, that's definitely going to be a massive pain in the side here as Digimon is just caught out.
Yep, 100% Perf gonna go in with that Annihilation. Rough situation for Spectre to be in. We'll see the cleanup come through. This will be a quick one as well. As gonna have 45% on the board. Beat still active as well. So again, if they wanted to play aggressive here in a moment, they could.
Absolutely here. And so Atlas has to choose, how they're going to respond to this aggression, right? Do they just try to wait it out when the sound barrier comes through? Or do they continue to push into it, right? It's going to be all about these Ramachas and the slow fields being placed here, trying to see who can find the most value.
Yeah, and Benno is in the middle of Albuquerque, unfortunately. As we're going to see the Trado come through. Spectre getting rid of Perf. Should be able to start clearing out this point, taking over. But of course, Nyanmaka, again, going to hold on to that beat. Honestly, I don't hate the idea of holding on to it because this fight coming up here, that Annihilation has a real chance of coming online.
Yeah, it's one of the things if you had to rip it incredibly early on, and if you're just holding it, then that means you have to use it to counter out one of these ultimates. Like you said, the Annihilation, which Edgymom is getting closer and closer to here, but Atlas has a ton of other ultimates that they're starting to build towards as well here, so it's going to be easier said than done.
Yep, you see Edgemon getting close. Pulse Bomb does go out as a lot of people low. Edgemon falls just short of having that Annihilation, and now this is going to be a rough situation. The Fallen take over the point, and all bodies can do is force their way on one at a time. Stall will fall apart for Kessoku as it's going to be map point here for the Fallen. They are looking good, but ults are plentiful here for Kessoku.
Yeah, I mean, Fallen, being able to say they're on map point, great. It really came down to Edgymom having 1% on that. If that Annihilation gets built, that's a completely different fight that we experienced there for the side of Atlas. So now, as we are trying to see how they want to approach here, knowing that they have to win out these next 2 points, it's going to be massive so they can try to isolate Perf from the rest of the squad.
Yep. You're going to see 2 used out the gate from the Fallen. Beacon be activated, and now Kessoku is just going to try to run in here and just take care of business. You could have a potential Kitsune Rush on the other side, but with Benno being down, you get one of the only real ultimates alive. The Fallen try to strike first. Unfortunately, Kessoku simply back off and just counteract, and that works out beautifully for them.
Yeah, and that's a massive trade as well, getting the Kitsune Rush out and making no value come of it. Absolutely what you want to see there for Kessoku. So now they have their own Kitsune Rush. They're going to be able to just sort of channel down main just to keep the Fallen away from the objective here. We'll be interested to see how Fallen chooses to play around this, especially on high ground with the DP.
100%. Honestly, I don't hate it, but unfortunately, it's not going to work out at all for the Fallen, who once again invest multiple ultimates into a fight. They do not come anywhere close to winning, and now this is a rough situation because you have to go into this fight with no ultimates and pray that Kessoku invests.
Yeah, I mean, that's more than a hope and a prayer indeed here. They're going to be pushing into the objective. They do have a venture of their own. There's no teleport. It's going to be caught out here, but again, we saw what happened to Riku on the venture earlier, so it's just going to be a matter of if more success can be found on the Fallen side of things.
Yep, B can be activated early on. Deadeye gonna get rid of Perf, and unfortunately this investment is gonna give nothing, and this is again the Fallen. The 3rd time in a row they've used multiple ults in a fight that they do not win. Dex is hanging around though. He's trying to take care of business. Unfortunately, just can't find those last couple of shots. Edgymom, I mean, she had the Annihilation anyway. It really wasn't going to matter, but now it comes down to a 5th and final point, and the ult disparity is staggering.
Yeah, and you almost sort of wonder why Fallen choose to invest so heavily there. They don't have to win on that point, right? They still have time. They have this fifth objective. If they had held some of those ults in the bank, they now most likely are going to lose the initial cap to Atlas here, just because Atlas is going to be able to engage with these great tools, right? The sound barrier, the annihilation, even a pulse bomb from Riku can end the fight before it begins here. But Fallen's going to attempt to try to catch this rotation.
Yeah, 100%. And Mudkip being cut out really early. The Fallen just don't really have a dog in the fight right now. Benno does get rid of 2, though. Door does open up, and now you're going to see a transition over towards the point. Trying to push out Riku right now over on that Tracer. Recall has been activated. Benno hopefully going to be able to survive, but rough spot to be right now. But eventually, Benno going to be taken down. Annihilation activated. Pulse Bomb thrown in as well. Edgemom is still not really in high health. Could be ran down super close. Gets back to them from the will be able to restabilize. Astradia does have the beat. Barely gets it off, mind you, and now the Fallen are going to try to win this one with that Kitsune Rush. Unfortunately, Mudkip has been taken down. Benno could be coming back with this Tectonic Shock, but the point is slowly beginning to slip over to Kessoku, who still have that Kitsune Rush. It might be activated, but eventually, point is going to go over to Kessoku. They will hold on to that valuable ultimate.
Yeah, considering how chaotic that was. I mean, Atlas, again, they had this massive advantage going into the fight, into that fight, and the fact that it was that back and forth, that close here, not what you want to see at all here. Now, the Fallen trying to push in. They have this Annihilation as well as a Tectonic Shock to try to make space, but if they get caught...
Yeah, rough situation for Benno to be in right now. A bunch of people in a very weird spot. But Benno ends up going down as soon as the Tectonic Shock comes out. And if I'm the Fallen, I don't even know if I want to engage on this. There's almost no point. You're going to die late here. You're not going to have time for another fight. Everybody needs to get out of here. And you see this. They're going to run up that backside and try to get rid of everybody. Everybody's so low. Eventually comes in clutch with the cleanse. As you're going to see this Deadeye come through. Not going to catch on to anybody. Be available for Mudkip. But Mudkip needs to try to hold on to us as they can hopefully find the flip here. As cleanse online. Perfect. Simply needs to try to stay alive. As stall is being given. Spectre gets rid of Benno. Beat is activated after the fact. And this is it. This could be the very end. I mean, you have the Deadeye still alive. Edgemom is coming back with this Annihilation. It's so tough to deal with, Mega. Even Spectre being down right now, there is no response for this Annihilation. And the moment this pops off, there might be no hope remaining for this squad. As they're trying their darndest, but they can be falling apart one after another.
Yeah, it seems like it's just a matter of time here. Like you said, the Annihilation being popped going to be the exclamation point here. Again, the Fallen, they had a massive, amazing pick, but instead of focusing on the objective, they were trying to find more kills in the fight here. In Atlas, the entire time, meanwhile, is in control of the point. So now they build up to that 99. They get the fight they want here and are able to tie up our series 1 apiece here. Just great play from Atlas to be able to just maintain control of the point, even when you're down members here. And on the flip side of things, the Fallen, just an absolute misplay, a blunder, if you will, which, from a map that was completely in their hands.
Yeah, it 100% was. They had a couple of blips on that second point, but they were rather dominant walking into that 4th round, and it just completely falls apart from there. It was a situation of them investing multiple ultimates into a fight very early on and getting no value in 3 fights back to back to back, and unfortunately they never bounced back from that situation. I feel like this could be a very quick adjustment from the squad, though, because we didn't see a lot of that in the first map, not nearly as much anyhow. So I imagine there will be that adjustment. Obviously, the bans as well in that situation between the Zarya and the Reaper. It's an unfortunate situation at the end of the day, because I wonder if they could have dealt with that easier if it was Zarya out there rather than the swap over to the Ramatra, because Edgemon was getting consistent value on that Ramatra, and obviously hindsight's 20/20 at the end of the day, but who knows how that could have gone down elsewise.
Again, coulda, shoulda, woulda, lots of different opportunities and things like that here. It truly is just baffling to just think back to that map, because there were so many points that it was completely in the Fallen's hands, and then it just felt like it slipped like sand through the fingers.
Yeah, unfortunately so. But the bright side is that, hey, the Fall will have an opportunity to really think through what they want to do for this third map, because we're going to go to our halftime break. So when we come back, we will have the third map between this amazing matchup between the Fallen and Atlas Kessoku. We'll be right back.
Yo. Cash and the ticket is yours. Cash and the ticket is yours. Yo. Cash and the ticket is yours. Cash and a ticket is yours. Cash and a ticket is yours.
Everybody, welcome back once more to the CGL playoffs. We are here in the NA Master Division, where we have had a back and forth game so far, a war of attrition between the Fallen and Atlas Kessoku. And Mega, we go into that second map, the way Fallen was playing, we're thinking, hey, maybe this ends up being a quick night. The momentum's on their side, but unfortunately for them, they start to fall apart near the second half. Atlas Kessoku brings it back, ties up our series, and now for the first time in the series, really, there is a big sense of momentum behind this Kessoku squad.
Yeah, a lot of momentum definitely here. I mean, the Fallen going to have to see how they bounce back on our next map, considering just again how, it felt like Servos was completely in their favor and they let it slip through their hands to give Atlas that chance here. But as you see, we are headed to Circuit Royale. This could be a nice change of pace. Obviously, the option to play Brawl is still there with some Symmetra TP shenanigans, but this has always been known as more of a poke map for that reason.
Yeah, it really has. We should see a relatively high amount of it. We will see some people kind of conform to a Brawl style during specific parts. But we'll see whether that is going to be the case. Ramatra, I think, is still pretty powerful on this map. Sigma is really good as well. But like I said, there are certain points where you can make almost anything work. But regardless of that being the case, the Fallen are going to have the first ban this time around. Before, obviously, banned out that Zarya, so now no longer available. And at this stage of the game, Mega, I mean, what kind of route do you take now? Because you try to ban the tank, and that just doesn't work.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, banning out a tank is definitely going to be sort of hindering here, just because it almost feels like a waste of the Ramatra ban, if you're worried about it or things like that. But Fallen are going to start with a ban onto Wuyong. It's interesting to see. Wuyong definitely has sort of found his place within poke compositions here, so being able to take that consistent damage off the field if you're not comfortable piloting the character, I more than understand here. Atlas on the reverse ban here that I'd be interested to see it, because again, Atlas were the ones that ban out Zarya. They sort of self-hindered themselves last map with this. Interested to see where this next ban of theirs goes.
Yeah, we'll see. I can tell you it could be potentially in that DPS department. I wouldn't imagine there's a specific thing to ban right now, but we'll see. I've been wrong many times in my life. Symmetra has been taken out, and this is the second direct shot in a row towards Benno. And honestly, on a map where, I mean, Symmetra does have, like, their moments, but I don't know how to feel about this at the end of the day. It could be a symptom of, well, as Kessoku simply not having a ban they feel like they want to use in this map right here, and taking away the shenanigans that could come into place for the Fallen. Yeah,
no shenanigans are afoot here. They have been squashed out, at least on paper. Of course, we could still see some silly things cooked up in the back lines, but again, I would be very remiss to see this as just a standard poke map between these two squads. And again, it's a style we haven't seen from either team yet, so it'll be interesting to see a new matchup in the series with it both tied 1 apiece here. Obviously, still vying for that win, vying for any advantage they can come away with. And again, it's just sort of waiting to see if we'll actually see that standard poke, or if both teams are just masquerading for the time being.
Yeah, we'll see what the case is going to be. Obviously, not the two bans you think you would see when you go to Circuit Royale, but at the end of the day, I think after the way both teams kind of saw the way their bans affected that last one, things are a bit safer right here. And I don't blame either team in the slightest, but this is a pivotal map, because whoever wins this map, if this is a 5-map series, the team who wins this one right here is going to have all the power in that final map. Obviously, you want to have that locked in load, and for the time being, it is double Ramatra. I don't think that's a surprise whatsoever, but we are seeing Everything else is a traditional poke comp for the Fallen.
Yeah, traditional poke, like you said, you had the double sniper look, as well as the Baptiste and the Iari. The only thing I don't like about this is that, Mudkip over on that Baptiste now, we saw how impactful that Lucio was being across those first 2 maps. Maybe, Neon also has the BAP in them as well here, but meanwhile for the side of Atlas, they are going to be trying to sort of run it down on the Brawl here, with them now piloting the Ramatra Brawl composition with the Lucio BAP in tow as well.
100%. I like the Mei as well. You see this consistently. You're basically going to see Rika either walling off the high ground and forcing people away, or as you see right there, forcing Perf against the back of that wall, making it so it's really rough to do anything without fearing of simply being caught out. That's why you're going to see them pull back around that corner. Dex, though, amazing shot right out the gate. It's not going to stop that much momentum for the time being, though, as we are still very much in the poke phase.
Exactly, that's the thing. You need multiple picks, and you have to be able to hold the space when you get these picks as well here, to be able to actually find value from them, as Dex is peeking again and decides to get one.
Yeah, that's beautiful right there. Nearly gets another Riku, still alive, but that might be momentary. Does get Immortality Field. It's going to be able to pull around the corner, though, so Kessoku will get a relatively quick reset, but Dex and Benno already causing a ton of trouble.
Yeah, and so now you don't have to cover the payload as well for Atlas's approach here, so they have to be in sync, and they have to be able to close this distance using tools like the shield and things like that from the Ramatra here, because if they hesitate for even a moment, these snipers are going to find value.
100%. And I like the way they're kind of taking this top angle right here, trying to make it more difficult, but Ichibam, she is going to struggle in this situation to go out there and make that space. That's why you might see, a wall being thrown out here by Riku, trying to get a little more space. You're eventually going to see Perf have to get out of that situation, as Ultimate's already a factor. Benno is going to have the Dragon ready. Sights also online. With that activated, it's going to be the double DPS Ultimates right out the gate. Dex and Benno both getting rid of their respective share. As unfortunately, this is not the start, as Benno gets rid of the second right there. Gonna see one get out, just tell the story for Kessoku, but for the Fallen, this is working out to plan.
Working out to plan for the time being, but all it takes is another fight for Atlas to close that distance and get a pick, and they'll be seeing themselves on to point 2 and beyond here on circuit here. So again, it's about closing this distance, making sure it's done methodically without too much risk here, especially with Atlas swapping it up, making their DPS even brawlier, no longer focused on just the Ramatra, potentially trying to get to the backline on top of these snipers.
100%. And now, Cecil, you're going to see ready as Pentasun going to come out, going to catch on to at least one. Gonna see them below to smithereens, and Wander already gotten rid of 2, gets rid of a third, is hoping to clear things around. You see the engagement coming through eventually, will be taken care of. Kessoku only has 2 on the point, but that might potentially be enough. But unfortunately, you're gonna see Benno get back in here, needs to find the shot to close this out quickly. Unfortunately, just can't get it. Deflection comes through. Scary's got to be in it. Spectre being around, gets back to the point somehow. The Fallen could be fumbling this.
Could be indeed. It's just a Ramatra on its lonesome. Perf gonna have to pop the Annihilation. Just stay on.
This is rough. It has to try to stay on. Literally. It can't even do a thing. Can't even punch. Just has to defend. Eventually gonna get back that form. It's gonna get booped off the cart. And now you might as well give up the fight. Fallen gonna try to back out. And they had such a good hold. Unfortunately, they just get caught out.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like Benno just overcommits trying to get that Genji, right? You know the Genji got the health pack. Just play the distance, wait for your team to respawn. The defenders are going to get back to that much quicker. But now Atlas not only have the second checkpoint, they're going to be able to continue moving even further ahead. Like, look how far they're already holding up on point B, willing to play on this hilltop and stuff, as well as the DPS flanking, knowing they have their ultimates in wait.
Oh, 110%. Here comes that blade from Spectre. It's just going to get annihilated by Dex. Rough situation, but still potentially be able to pull this one back around. You still have Ejimam and Riku ultimates sitting by, but for the time being, stabilization could be coming through, but Dragon being thrown out. Benno is going to make the swap after the Dragon comes out. Going to cause momentary separation as both teams just kind of waiting to pull the trigger.
Yeah, and so now we're trying to find value with these ults.
Trying their darndest to be able to do so. as we go into the situation, pretty much only getting rid of, like, oh, there we go. Benno Dex managed to take care of business. We see Edgy Mom go for that annihilation, gets taken care of. Unfortunately, we're going to see the card not go far enough. Cleanup comes through. Now, just under 2 minutes on the clock. The Fallen still holding on to the Captive Sun and the Deadeye.
Yeah, Atlas definitely now have their work cut out for them. Obviously not pushing into the double sniper anymore, but tons of poke damage to still try to close this distance they now have to. And there's multiple routes, right? You see them currently just deciding to climb the hill, not risking that small, narrow staircase. But they have to close the distance even further to try to potentially find value. Atlas, Kitsune, Rush seems to be the game plan.
Ooh, yeah, but Riku already down super early. This Deadeye doesn't really need to get anybody. It's going to force everybody back, rub situation. Everybody should be able to get out alive, though, as Captive Sun does come out online. He's going to cause a bit of a collapse, and it's going to blow up another Wonder. Gets rid of 2. And you saw the lesson before. The last time the Fallen pushed in that room, things went very badly. They learn better. They back out.
Yeah. I will say the Fallen definitely potentially over-investing in that fight where, you know, you commit both the Deadeye and the Captive Sun when you already had the initial pick. So, not sure how necessary it was, but now already into the next one.
Yeah, now Perf just has to block for the rest of this annihilation. Dex, though, just hitting that silver bullet almost every single time. It's really rough to deal with. But eventually going to see the push right here from Benno over on that Venture as Beat is activated. Kessoku want to win this fight right here and now because this is literally the limit right now. But unfortunately, Dex gets rid of another. The Fallen sitting on top for the time being. Kessoku cannot afford to lose anybody else. Ejimom incredibly low. Benno gonna try to get out. Will be able to stay alive.
Yeah, trying to stay alive though, but time is dwindling this entire time. Meanwhile, and the Fallen have just been in control of this defense pretty much the entirety of point 2.
100% touch needs to be able to come through. Overtime is there. Unfortunately, it might be nothing more than a formality as Kessoku, as clutch as they came up, Dax clears out the house, and the Fallen gonna stop them in a relatively comfortable position.
Yeah, we will have to see where that golden box of victory ended up, as there was a bit of payload push that went one way or the other. Oh my gosh, is that what the drive looks like? That looks awful. Like, sorry, I saw a tab, I saw the scoreboard, and like that completely pulled me out of any and everything that I was gonna say. Like that, like why does that look so? Like the font looked awful on the IV. I don't even know what the hell that was. I don't know where I am. What's happening?
Well, one thing I do know is the Fallen basically need to not fall into the trap here. The amount of times, Mega, I don't know if you'll agree with me, but this is the one map I see where you will see somebody commit a full hold and the defense will hold on even harder. I have seen that more times than I can count here. And to double down on that, Mega, the amount of times teams have been held on that first point, because it can be really difficult to deal with the sight lines down main, to get around that second big corner. Both situations could be really rough to deal with.
Yeah, more than rough. It can absolutely be a thorn in the side here. Especially depending on how the Fallen end up playing this, right? Obviously, we know Dex is hitting shots on the Widowmaker, but that's never a guarantee, right? It's very much a feast or famine hero. Meanwhile, while you're doing that, Atlas going to be swapping things up for their defense here, having the Cassidy for the mid-range, but also the Freya in tow to potentially get some bolts into Dex here before Dex even has a chance to respond could be the plan.
100% could. Would love to see it be the case. We'll see this. And yeah, everyone's just hiding away. No one even wants to poke out. They realize there's no reason to. The moment someone peeks, they might get their head taken off instantly, as Ejimom simply going to keep playing down over on this step. You see the aggression coming through. Ejimom is low. Riku also getting there right now. Unfortunately, all that protection just doesn't work out. Rough situation. Benno already gets rid of 2. This first corner is completely cleared away. This is a fantastic start for the Fallen.
Massive. I mean, you saw Atlas was so terrified of the Widow sightlines, respecting it far too much, that Perf decides to just run in with the help of Benno on this venture here, and being able to force out cooldown so incredibly early now is going to send Atlas into a pretty bad position here where they're having to try to defend. Oh!
Woo! Yeah, not how you want to start things out. Looking to get rid of another. Everyone just has to hide away. Spectre's down. Kessoku now struggling. This point is going to be taken extremely early. 5 minutes on the clock, and you could see some staggers on the way out.
That's what you're hoping for if you're Benno, but I don't think you're going to be able to secure those just yet here. So now Atlas with a swap over to the D.Va. They do have some time to get back into this one. As you see that golden box very close to the end of point B here. But with the Fallen being so far pushed up, Dex having control of the sightlines, you really have to find a way to mitigate this Widow's value.
100% you do, and this is going to be really tough. You need to win this fight right here and re-stabilize, because this card is just slowly pushing forward. You see the separation from Edgimama on that D.Va way on the outside, separated from the squad. Eventually going to come back together, but Riku, only ultimate online for Kessoku now, as you see the investment of that Amp Matrix. The trade-outs coming through. Spectre getting rid of Benno is a really good start, but again, you're going to have an Annihilation right around the corner. If Perf gets that, it is basically lights out. And to be fair, I think it's lights out already.
Yeah, the slow field puts the exclamation point on it. Nobody can get onto the objective in time with the D.Va missing here, and Fallen firmly in control, playing circuit absolutely amazingly. Now find themselves on series point to send themselves to grand finals.
Yeah, I mean, an incredible job from them. We've seen back and forth maps so far, but that might be the first dominant map we have had so far today. And honestly, it is on the back of this DPS duo doing amazing things. Dex, I don't know what Dex ended up finishing out with, but the amount of times where we saw Dex 3 or 4 times in that kill feed, it's phenomenal. I know it's really simple to say, hey, look at the kill feed, you know, person's on there a lot, but no. It's really important on a map like Circle Royale where Mega, it is very DPS dependent. If you see your DPS consistently in the kill feed, on a map like that, it's an incredible thing.
I mean, nothing short of incredible. Absolutely. I cannot agree with you more there. And again, I feel like Atlas potentially maybe even giving a little too much respect over that DPS line. As great as they were, you know, just living in fear constantly of, you know, the Widowmaker and the sightlines and things like that, potentially hindering some chances at a solid defense there, really going to come back to bite them. But thinking ahead in this series now, you start to wonder what the thought process is going to be for Kessoku. Because, you know, looking forward, there's not a lot of great options to sort of mitigate these DPS sightlines. Your last two map types are both hybrid and push. You've already, you know, had that Cassidy ban earlier on in the series. You're going to be able to see more of that from Dex here, and lots of maps that can take advantage of those mid-range sightlines here. So Atlas starting to look down the barrel of this gun here, trying to figure out the best way around this.
Yeah, I understand. And obviously, at this point, the options are becoming very limited as things are right now. I mean, we've already gone through Flashpoint, we've taken Escort out, so it's only Hybrid and Push that remain, which, to be fair, it does still leave a pretty wide open pool in terms of types of maps, honestly. But it really is going to be a critical decision as to what route they go down, because there are some good dive maps still. There's some really good brawl maps if you decide to go back down the Zarya route. But I think that ban is what's going to be most important, honestly, because there are so many threats that display themselves from the Fallen on this last map, and I think there are a couple of really good selections, but we learned before from the Fallen just how those selections can potentially negatively affect you, and plus with the fact that Zarya has already been banned out here, if Kessoku get on a roll with it, the Fallen will not be able to stop it.
That's sort of the fear that can come with it here. Like you said, that Zarya Reaper, you know, what we saw Atlas Kessoku piloting on Li Jiang still can be very potent and very deadly here across some of these maps as well here. So interesting that they haven't gone back to it. Obviously, maybe haven't had the best chance, especially with Circuit Royale being the Fallen's pick here. I think it's definitely an escort map that leans into their style incredibly well here. But you know, again, it comes back down to just sort of thinking out what you're going to be doing in terms of these bans and things like that here, because at the end of the day, these are important decisions, because, you know, we talked about it at the start of the series, you don't want to drop down to that lower bracket. It's looming, and there's a team down there that definitely is ready to gobble up anybody who's hesitating.
Yeah, that'll definitely be the case, but find out in a moment what the situation is going to be in terms of picks. Again, Atlas gonna take a moment to decide what the situation is, because again, like that second map, it's really important to decide where to go and what to ban. It worked out really well for them before, so I don't mind that they're taking their time once again to try to make the correct decision. I could see this going down the route realistically of going to King's Row. I know it's the generic pick, but honestly, I don't dislike it because you have to remember that Ramatra has not been banned out by either team yet. So you could force a situation where, you can force the Fallen off the Ramatra, which so far has been working out brilliantly, and it might force them into I would say I'm comfortable mirror with Azaria, but one that I think Kessoku is going to be a little more comfortable on themselves.
Yeah, and, just being perfectly transparent, we are still just waiting. The deliberation is just occurring in the back of all our minds here. So while they are deliberating, we have to just sort of sit back and reflect on, CGL as a whole. It's one of those things that we're caught up in these playoffs. Everybody's intense, winners finals. Everybody wants to win and stuff like that. But, this season, I don't know about you, Hunter. It's gone by in the blink of an eye, just like this map selection clearly has.
Yep, Esperanza gonna be our pick here for what could be the final map of the series. This is gonna, for some teams, this really falls down the route of dive, very quick compositions, but it's not quite always the case. You could definitely see another double Ramatra situation here, but again, we'll see if the bans are going to affect that situation. But I love Esperanza as a pick. It's really going to be dependent on these bans that we'll find out momentarily. But Mega, on a map like this is a map that can get out of hand very quickly, and push typically falls in that department.
Push always is sort of that map type that can, like you said, fall to chaos rather quickly here, sort of a blink at the wrong time, and things can absolutely go by the wayside. You're having to try to crawl back 100-meter deficit or even greater sometimes. But then you end up doing it in the last few seconds of the game, because all of a sudden that's when you're able to string together the ultimates and things like that you need here. But obviously beyond map pick, like we were talking about, the bans as well, definitely going to be playing a factor here. Atlas getting the first crack at it. I still believe the Ramatra ban is in the back pocket, and this might finally be the time to rip that band-aid, I feel.
Yeah, I 100% think it is, and that is very interesting, actually. That is extremely interesting. So that's not a visual bug, ladies and gentlemen. That is Kessoku that just banned out their own Zarya, which is either going to be the best or worst decision of this entire series. I think
it's like, again, they have, to be fair, they haven't played the Zarya since map 1, but in hindsight as well, neither has the Fallen. So I don't know, maybe it could be a protect onto other tanks as well beyond the Ramatra, maybe wanting to guarantee a Winston style. Now taking the Lucio out of the mix, I feel like both teams were expecting potentially the Winston or the Diva to come out, more of a dive style that we can see sometimes on Saravasa, or Esperanza rather. My maps are confused in my brain, don't worry, it'll all get there in the end here. So Atlas definitely wanting to play the Diva, potentially taking the Zarya out here. And the Fallen, the best way to hinder that dive, knowing it's coming, is just go ahead and take the Frog out of the mix here. Because while you have the other speed option in Juno, she is much more vulnerable to getting jumped in these situations here, and just being a easier target to sort of pin down.
Yeah, 100%. We'll see how well this ends up being the case. Honestly, I'm still hooked on those bans. If those bans would have been flipped around, I would call them absolutely perfect. And hey, it still might be the right choice. I'm curious to see what the case is going to be. We saw Agumon bring out that Diva a fair amount before, and the Zarya ban would suggest that the Diva is going to become the active member here. The question really is what the response is going to be from the Fallen. You could see the Winston, but at least for the moment, we're seeing a direct Diva mirror. Benno is currently showing this matchup. Could be a TP, but Benno has been pretty 50-50 in terms of staying on it.
Yeah, absolutely could be staying on it, like you said here. But I'm interested to see what these support lines end up looking like in a world with no Lucio. Immediately you see from both squads, they want to implement the Kiriko as per usual, but then it's going to be the Wooyoung for Atlas here to give more damage as well as peel for oneself, versus the Brig, who's going to be able to help out potentially against this dive a little bit better.
Yeah, we'll see what ends up being the situation as we're getting this fight ready, steady, go. Diva battle is going to be the case right here. Riku over on that Tracer was decently effective before. Needs to find a little more something here on Esperanza to be able to bring this to its 5th and final map. And for the Fallen, they're hoping to get off to a really good start here and keep momentum firmly on their side. But Perf is going to be knocked out of the mech extremely quickly. Edgymom just has to kind of maintain, stay within the mech, and you're able to simply collapse on everybody here, because without that Diva there, this is going to be so difficult to win. The Spectre is getting hit consistently. This is not as clean as it honestly should be. Dex gets rid of one. Everybody stay with each other. Everybody stabilizing. This should be a fight that Kessoku should have on complete lock, but they are struggling a little bit. They should eventually clear it out, though.
Yeah, Edgymom there in time to hold the defense matrix over each and every person as Riku cleans it up on the Tracer. And so now Kessoku going to be pushing forward here. And this could be the tale of two divas, right? It's going to be about being able to be the aggressor and sort of just holding space while letting the rest of your team work here. And Perf so far definitely been more of a solo agent across the tanks we've seen here, so would be a stylistic swap up, not just a hero swap.
100%. Already 37 meters away. It is growing further and further. Kessoku looking good out the gate here, but we'll see. Dex is about to have this Deadeye right around the corner. Could send a rush available for both sides as well, but Kessoku is having a majority of the ultimate advantage right now. Pulse Bomb is ready. Both bombs ready for that matter. As you see that stick come through directly over onto Meadow, who can't get back under Crown. The Fallen struggling directly out the gate here. Edgymom getting back over onto the point. Perf in a really rough situation, has to go back inside. Someone is going to have to stall offenses because the rest going to be activated, still available for his Kessoku, as it will be thrown off. Perf knocked out of the mech, and it's just bodies falling on the point one after another, trying to stabilize, trying to get Perf back into the mech. But the moment this rally is up, this could fall apart very quickly.
Exactly, and so now with the Tidal Blast as well here, things are just going from bad to worse as Atlas are just seemingly waiting for the inevitable moment, but Wander actually gets one.
Yeah, but it's not going to matter too much at the end of the day. Forward spawn's going to be in effect, so we can get back really quickly. And this is one of those situations that can get out of hand very quickly, especially as, yeah, they swap it up. Nyan takes over on the... Wow. We'll see how it works out. Ooh.
Yeah, complete backline swap, like you were saying, with Neon taking over onto the Kiriko duties. Meanwhile, Wander going to try to mirror the Wuyong here. Potentially both squads, neither backline wanting to play this Wuyong, but Fallen right now suffering, or finally finding some success.
Yeah, bomb going to be released out here. 82 meters still on the point. Somehow, Spectre goes down to that. I don't know how that quite happens, but regardless of that being the case, Edgymom should be knocked out of the mech. Is not going to use the bomb, makes the correct choice. Everybody gets the reset. Benno gets a couple kills on the way out of there, but everyone is going to get the forward spawn, should be able to reset very quickly.
Resetting for the time being here. We're looking towards this next fight, though, and the Fallen definitely going to be trying to battle back. You see a lot of them already holding this initial high ground, so Atlas does have some tools to help clear it. Obviously, a pulse bomb can certainly do the job in scaring people away, but also Edgymom could just throw the bomb up in a very aggressive manner just to sort of get people off this high ground.
100% would be a 100-team bomb if I have ever seen one. But Wanderer being pressured out right now, trying to stay alive, but you see the trade coming through. Dex taken down first and foremost as that Deadeye did not get any effect. This pulse bomb thrown out. Full Sport so close, but no cigar as Edgymom going to finish off both of them. Rough situation as, unfortunately, no heals at the ready. Edgymom, third elimination of this fight, is on her way to a fourth, as Bot simply going to be stolen away as, unfortunately for Perf, this is going to be a slow death on the cart.
Yeah, but it's actually important that the death happens on the cart there, right? Obviously, if Perf had run away like you initially saw the Baby Diva trying to do, then that's just more and more free push here. By forcing yourself over to the objective, you at least make it so they have to remove you. Meanwhile, Edgymom, like you said, just going absolutely crazy. This Diva really being a menace right now that it seems like the Fallen doesn't have an answer for.
Yeah, and again, title being thrown out there. It's going to catch on to multiple people. Going to see the come for two right there, getting cleared out, and it is falling apart for the Fallen as they're going to get completely wiped off the map. Kessoku are going to be able to probably get this to the 100+ meter mark and still have some good ultimates on the table.
massive tools like the Kitsune Rush, the Deadeye, and again, that aforementioned Diva Bomb, whether you use it aggressively or defensively, ends up being the Diva's call most of the time here. The Fallen, while they have some key tools, not wanting to expend just to get out of their own spawn is going to be the key factor here.
Yep, Blade being thrown. Tidal Wave with a Blade engaging is the scariest thing I have seen all day. As Benno trying to hunt down right here. Rough situation is eventually going to be collapsed in on. Deflect not going to do a thing. Edgymom going to take a quick little reset. Get everybody back together. Push once more. Bomb going to be thrown into the stratosphere. See if he gets any value. Does actually find a little bit of value here. Kiriko being taken out. We can see a re-engagement. You're trying to run for the hills right now. As eventually Kessoku gets a quick reset.
Yeah, and the question is, will they be able to reset these forward spawns? But with Kessoku already being here, I'm going to take that as a no. And so keeping those forward spawns, keeping everybody in the fight, is going to mean the Fallen has little to work with now that they've expended some of these ults.
100%. Extra close to going down there, but Spectre finished off first and foremost. It's going to be a quick one with the Kitsune Rush. The Fallen making quick work, and you're going to see, again, long respawn in effect for multiple members of Kessoku.
Yeah, and so now, will they be back in time to contest these forward spawns being achieved for the Fallen becomes the question here, especially with no speed boost in tow. You're seeing this high ground being held back and forth. The two Divas pretty much just playing a game of, you know, just poke back and forth where they realize, hey, listen, we're both going to get some ult charge off this. We're just here to play the game.
Deadeye activated. Nobody should really go down this. Unfortunately, it's a rough situation. Somehow doesn't go down. Bomb is alive. Benno, I mean, was just in utter hell there for a moment. Could not get out alive. But eventually, Spectre will head back to the spawn room. But the support's cleaning up big time for Kessoku. Be able to keep this one alive. Perf is not going to release the bomb. Once again, smart decision. As this bot, by the way, has been carried away the entire time and is just now making its way back.
I was going to say, that could have been such a brutal stagger onto Perf. With how the bot had been moved away already here. But at the very least, forward spawns are going to be resecured for Atlas before they have the chance to get back into this one, or the Fallen has a chance to get back into this one, rather. The swap over to the Sim, don't get me wrong, it's finally been sort of making Edgymom play a little bit more measured, but the rest of the team really is just running circles around the Symmetra and not able to close the gap.
100%. Tidal Wave is at the ready. Bomb being thrown out. Going to be able to cause everybody to separate momentarily. We'll be able to remech as well, but Perf is in a really rough situation. Finds one on the way out. Could still potentially get demeched, but it's not going to matter. Fight being taken away, but once again, everybody should get the good response.
The good respawns, both teams now going to be able to mirror the tidal blast at each other. Atlas clearly been playing incredibly well with that one, putting it onto Riku and allowing the Tracer to blink in and find guaranteed stuns and guaranteed eliminations off of it every single time here. Meanwhile, the Fallen, you know, we'll have to see how they choose to find value with this one, with Wander not finding the same level of success.
Yeah, Deadeye gonna be forced out. Tower thrown back the other way. Doesn't connect onto a whole lot. Rough situation. A bunch of ults have been thrown out, but nobody down quite yet. You're going to have the consider rush level for both sides here momentarily, but Edgymom knocked out of the mech. This could be devastating. As now Dex finishing off another. Just going to have a couple more deaths over here on the point. 52 meters curling for the Fallen, and with that, they will be able to get the checkpoint unlocked.
Yeah, but at what cost, right? They throw everything in the kitchen sink into that fight, and we dip below a minute in the time bank. Atlas, sure, they invest their support ultimates, but they're going to have both DPS ultimates and a Diva Bomb to boot here. The longer this goes, it's going to be worse for the Fallen, right? They are the ones that have to make up the distance, whereas Atlas, if they can hold these tools to a potential overtime fight, all it takes is one kill to secure themselves that map 5.
Yeah, Riku has to be incredibly careful here. Being taken out would be devastating, but now you're here through ultimate. You can start with the Deadeye here to get a bunch of space right now, but you lose on the Kiriko, and now Deadeye is activated. Dex gets rid of another. It is all falling apart at the seams. Benno gets rid of another. Bomb being thrown up. It is a desperation attempt to try to hold on, but is taken care of, and now the Fallen potentially moments away from taking over the lead.
I mean, yeah, it's going to be sort of a scramble to the objective here. They're sending in the Venture to stop the lead from coming through, but stopping the lead from coming through means that you have to come up with the kills here. If you don't, it's going to be absolutely devastating.
That's massive getting rid of Dex. This opens up the door. It is a 3-meter difference right now. Bomb being thrown out. It's an awkward situation. You're eventually going to see the wall coming through as well. Benno wants to get this done and over with right here, right now. Separation is alive, though. People making the way back. Benno has been taken care of, though. Collapse over onto Nyan, who gets burnt down. It's just Dex trying to make the way back for the touch. Wander, one more there for it. But the stall is going to mean diddly in this situation. Dex with the recall, trying to get one more touch in here. You see Perf right around the corner, trying to get one more in there. It is an excellent stagger, but Mega staggers is all it shall be. As the Fallen can't finish it up, Kessoku will take us to a 5th map.
Just like Saravasa, I mean, it feels like it was completely in the Fallen's hands at the last second there to take the lead. They had it all in their favor, but they just let it slip through like the sand. So now you're just sort of wondering, can Fallen actually clutch it up here? Or is Atlas finally starting to build the momentum they need to take this series win? Because again, it's just so unbelievably close, but they can't get it done at the very last second once again.
Yeah, and I mean, they had a decent ult advantage going into that. And it's honestly a glorious move because you see the full style swaps come through for Kessoku, and it looks more like desperation than anything else because obviously it is desperation. Someone has to get that touch. I mean, you have the wall, you have the bomb, neither get anything, and it's obviously unfortunate for the Fallen, but we've seen this happen throughout the series already. We watched back it happen on Saravasa, like you mentioned, and now it's happened here. When Fallen is locked in, they can get a lot done, but when they're throwing these chaotic situations, it becomes really rough to deal with. So now it comes down to a 5th and final map. There's no do-overs, no nothing. It is down to one final map. Now, thankfully, Mega, the Fallen are going to have this opportunity with that 5th map to have their selections come through in terms of ban, in terms of map selection. There's not a ton of maps still available, but we'll see what they go with. But as I'm alluding to, they're going to get an opportunity to think it through as we are heading to one final break. When we come back, we will have the definitive conclusion to your upper finals and the NA Master Tier.
Yeah. Okay. See, I was waiting for it. Our producer typed at us that we're not throwing to a break, and Hunter just set that up.
Oh.
So I kind of was just letting Hunter revel in it, because I truly was curious. I was like, is Hunter going to will it into existence? But yeah, no break. It's been a bait. It's been a ruse. We've just been told that.
I'm going on break.
Oh, okay. Say less. Say less. Listen, I could talk to the stream all day long here, but I mean, listen, Fallen, I love y'all. Whether you win or lose this series, stop going that 5. The heartstrings that you're pulling on people is doing too damn much. It's absolutely out of here. And the Fallen, like you were saying, Hunter, have the map pick here with us knowing Hybrid is our 5th and final map type. Hey, maybe we get a draw. You want to go 6 maps, Hunter? You want to go 6?
Don't put that evil on me.
But the final map pick potentially here is going to end up being New Bonnie. Fun fact, we actually have people like checking the rulebook like, wait, they can actually pick this map? Nobody, people aren't picking King's Row. What is this? But New Bonnie is going to be up in selection here. And again, it's very interesting considering neither team has shown dive besides that last map here. So Fallen, potentially about to opt into another Diva matchup where they got, thrashed until the very last minute where they were able to start stringing things together. But yeah, we just find ourselves in a very interesting spot.
Yeah, it's extremely interesting, and now you wonder what route you want to take this, because again, the Fallen are also going to have the ban to get things charted away, and you could go down the simple route of deciding, hey, let's just get rid of the Diva. Let's take care of that. Let's take that away from Edgymom and try to maybe force something like the Winston into effect, because the Winston is something we have not seen the entire series. We haven't seen a Winston, we haven't seen a Hazard, we haven't seen a Wrecking Ball. The only real dive tank that we have seen has been that Diva. And with it being New Bonnie, you would certainly think that'd be the case, but running something like the Ramatra is not impossible here. I think more often than not, it can work, especially you get to the latter points, it works out brilliantly. But the hardest part of this entire map, Mega, is getting past that first point. It is quite difficult at times.
yeah, tons of different high grounds to operate on. Obviously, tons of different compositions as well here, whether they be the double hit scans, the cheese comps with Torbjorns and things like that, that are very, very difficult to try to break through. And that becomes a bit of an issue here, so I'm interested to see what's going to be off the table, because that also can be determining what the strategies are for these squads going into this map, because again, it's a very niche map. You don't see it come up all too often, but potentially this could be what the Fallen are banking on here, as taking people to unorthodox picks could be the name of the game.
100% it could be Fallen first ban out. We'll see momentarily what it's gonna be. Again, those picks have been very back and forth. I think the D.Va is definitive. 100% is going to be the case, and this is 100% the correct call in my mind.
Yeah, you don't want to play that D.Va again. Even though you got really close there at the end, far too close for comfort. Don't even risk it, right? Don't opt into that style here. So now if we're going to see die from either of these squads, it's going to have to default back to a Winston or Wrecking Ball look. And, I would kind of expect something of that effect to come out here, because if we're going to New Bonnie just to play Rush Hunter, I think the entire script has been flipped and nobody's going to know exactly what's being cooked up in the kitchen.
Yeah, at that point, what is bro cooking will become very much the conversation. It could go down that route 100%. If we get to third point, I bet it just becomes a Ramacha duel, which, not sure if that's the thing I want to see on New Bonnie, but it's possible. But Kessoku, ban is available here. I think there's a couple of really good routes. You could think about the DPS department more than anything else and think who's got a lot of effectiveness. That Venture has gotten a lot of power as well. It may not be the character you think of when you think of New Bonnie, but it is a strong character nonetheless. But it looks like Kessoku are going to ban out the Lucio. This is what I thought we would have seen the map before. It comes out this time. And this is, I think, going to make the Fallen, I think, struggle a little bit in this particular situation. They have been used to having that speed rather consistently.
Yeah, and so taking away that sort of speed option here, again, it's sort of, I don't know, it's going to put us in an interesting situation where both squads are sort of hindered themselves ever so slightly. And they're going to be on some off-standard compositions here. And I feel like that's a terrifying position for either of these teams in this map 5 scenario, because again, you want that spot in the grand finals. You want to prove that you can earn it without having to give yourself that second life, of course. But again, missing the Lucio here. Both teams have had their turns banning it throughout the series. So now I'm interested to see what the results are going to be because of that.
Yeah, we'll definitely see. I'm really curious what the case is going to be here. I mean, low Lucio being the case, you might expect something like an On a Braid to come out at some juncture. It's been really strong, especially on that first defense. You kind of hang around in that back corner. It's really tough for anyone to do anything to you unless there's a fundamental collapsing in from both sides, which both teams would obviously love to set that if possible, but we won't be able to find out, obviously, until we get into things. Both teams making sure they got everything settled away, because this map, everything is on the line here, and it's gonna be tough to deal with if a team loses this, because you lose a map 5 and then you have to instantly bounce back here in a few days against the number 1 seeded team that's waiting in the losers finals.
Yeah, and that game just sitting in loser finals, that's just not a situation that you want to find yourself in here. But as we are finally loading into New Bonnie, which is hopefully the last map, again, not going to fully will the draw into existence. It's already 11 p.m. on the East Coast here. But New Bonnie, again, it's going to be interesting to see what these teams play for the defense. You have lots of high grounds to work with, and how the attackers choose to assault these high grounds generally ends up dictating the pace of the game here. Okay, the icons are wrong, thankfully. I thought the Fallen was walking on this comp for defense. I was about to lose my goddamn mind.
Well, the thing is, I don't think we're being trolled. I want to believe that we're not being trolled, and they're actually going to TP to the high ground and try to run them down. For some reason, I want it to stay Mega, please.
I mean, I could see the Reinhardt Bastion being teleported around, but you're going to need more healing, right? Yeah, the Mercy just isn't going to be enough. And yeah, so at least the backline
They're
is
doing
switching
it!
here. So they are going to be trying this little niche strategy here. Again, very niche strategy already on top of a niche map pick. The Fallen certainly know how to go down with style.
Yeah, and they're gonna all go through separation on the Dex, who is gonna barely get out alive. And you're just gonna see a forming. They're hitting this backside, but unfortunately, that means the door's gonna open for a TP over to the high ground. Nobody is home though, so now they're kind of just up on this high ground without anything to really do. I mean, everyone's separated, which is nice and all, but you still need to fundamentally collapse on someone somewhere. As you're to see one tick go, well, should go through without too much difficulty. First one, yeah, is going to be there. Perf has just kind of been shield buying this entire time. Can't really do anything else, quite honestly. Has to hang around, but gets a pin. Wu Young being taken care of. This could be falling apart very quickly now. The Bastion uncontested on the high ground. And yeah, this is turning rough quickly. This strategy looks like it's going to work out.
At the very least, for a point A capped here, Atlas completely at a loss for words, not sure what they were up against. They're going to be able to get Perf at the very end here. But that's all they're really going to be able to say about it. And with point A secured, I mean, it's done its job. So now the Fallen just playing with house money on this comp and see how long they choose to pilot it and how Atlas chooses to respond.
Yeah, 100%. We'll see what the situation is. They are sticking with this. And honestly, I mean, you're already getting up to your artillery if you're Bastion. Might as well. It can be useful, but at least Benno is going to make the swap over to the Reaper, and they're just going to play with the speed. Actually, swaps all around. You see, eventually, Astradia goes over to the Juno instead.
Also, the Bastion has swapped teams. The Spectres decided to play. Meanwhile, Benno is over on the Reaper and already finding value here. So, you know, maybe a question of how much our favorite Omnic's going to be able to get away with.
Yeah, this is going to be rough, especially walking into a Reaper, and you see this rotation to the outside. Pin goes through. Not going to get a whole lot of anything, but the shield is going to be able to absorb a ton of this damage. Tried to find that grenade on the Dex, just misses out. I like this switch over to the Sriracha, though. It's going to be really tough for Perf to deal with it. Speed going around, though. Weird separation. Edgymom has to be extremely careful. Benno already getting a ton of work done, though. Shatter around the corner here for Perf. Looking for that, was potentially looking for a pin right there, is still going to go in, just missing out. But unfortunately, this is falling apart at the seams for Atlas Kessoku. This is really rough. The Fallen are going to go cut this point with just under 5.5 minutes on the clock. A Shatter around the corner, the Deadeye. This could be disastrous.
Disastrous, especially because Atlas is still scrambling. They don't have an on-paper answer for what they're being thrown at here. Obviously, Edgymom over to the Ramatra is a nice touch here, but there's no real follow-up. Nothing in this composition is going to be able to help Edgymom in these situations where you're trying to deal the damage to the Reinhardt here, and already down!
Oh, big Shatter comes through. Edgymom deleted for that. And now it's going to be that wipe. Riku trying to get out alive is just deleted now. You're still going to have double DPS ultimates. And Kessoku, they might get this Annihilation online.
I mean, it's got to be a requirement here for Atlas to avoid having a massive cap thrown in their face here. This defense has been sent reeling all map long here, and they have to find an answer and stop here and now.
Oh my god. And Spectre's being taken care of. Benno needs to be able to try to stay alive. Might just go for the solo ult here. Honestly, wouldn't blame Benno in the slightest. And the point is going to cap with 4 minutes and 21 seconds. It is a disaster for Atlas Kessoku and a masterclass here from the Fallen.
A masterclass in tomfoolery will be the way I'd put it here. I mean, the Fallen willing to play the cheese comp, but also adapting instead of resting on it, right? They could have easily definitely sat on that Bastion sim until it fell apart, but instead choosing to be flexible, realizing that they have to swap things up with Atlas already trying to counter swap them. I mean, staying one step ahead of the game here this late into a series, that's exactly what you need. And the Fallen, they put up a massive map 5 time bank here, with Atlas now realizing they are up against it.
100%. You're going to see just a seismic swap up here. We have the Torbjorn making his debut of the series, over out on that Sigma. And honestly, I like this. This is going to work really well into that Winston. That accretion is going to be able to be used to pretty much prevent dives pretty easily. Same thing, Spectre. if he stays, or if they stay, if English, if she stays so over on that Genji, also can be rocked out of it. Basically, what I'm saying is the accretion on the Sigma is still very strong and works really well into this comp.
Yeah, accretion, always a powerful tool in the right hands, of course, here. Atlas, I don't know if they're going to be expecting to play into this poke composition. They come out on a pretty standard dive. Edgymom going to be trying to close the distance here with the help of Spectre being sort of this double dive damage duo that they can be here, but Atlas has to actually get themselves on high ground here, and Edgymom can't do it safely.
Yeah, that's a rough to lose Edgymom that early, and now you have to wait because you have to commit to a dive between no. Giving this up, and to be fair, if you are losing out to the Ramatra, I don't know how fundamentally you can run this Brigana anymore.
Yeah, that sort of becomes the question in this situation, as they're already assaulting the high ground here, and you have to try to close the distance a little bit better, as Perf can just fall away for the time being.
Yeah, and Benno is literally in a world of his own. But Accretion gets rid of Riku. Perf, honestly, in a really ideal situation, can get to the outside really easily, can push back up to the high ground pretty quickly as well. It's a rough situation to be able to deal with, but you're going to see the rotation up to the high ground the moment Perf moves out of position, gets slept, might be able to be booped off. They're going to see if they can pull it off or not. Perf, though, is at least alive momentarily, will eventually be taken care of. And unfortunately, Benno not long for the world either. And with these deaths, if everybody survives, you could potentially have another touch, as Dex does get rid of Riku.
Yeah, and so now with that pit
Oh
already
my
coming
God.
through, the deflect!
No, Dex had to wait like a second longer. And this could be flippable, and now I think that's cooked. I think this first point is done and dusted. You can try to keep bodies alive, but Mudkip's been taken care of. Benno is gone. Perf is going to have to just run for the hills, get this point up. And honestly, I think Perf is just in no man's land right now.
Yeah, the Sigma not long for the world here in Atlas. They need to be able to move quickly, and this is the perfect way to start it here. It could have been a bit of a faster cap, but you work with it, right? You have both support ultimates online to sort of keep your tempo and momentum going. The biggest thing, though, is what you're playing into, right? The Fallen has both support ultimates coming around the corner, as well as that Gravitic Flux from Perf here. So Atlas going to either have to find a way to mitigate these ults or lose a fight incredibly quickly, forcing out as much as possible.
100%. 4 minutes on the clock. It is a lot. Now thrown on to Spectre, manages to get rid of one, trying to slice and dice through the competition. You're going to see the investment from Perf. Perf gets nothing, though. I think it's slept out of it, potentially. And now, for the Fallen, it's fallen back into the trend that we have seen kind of consistently throughout the series.
Yeah, but I mean, that's exactly what you needed if you were Atlas, right? A waste of a Gravitic Flux. Absolutely massive here. Now tunneling down towards the end of point B. But trying to see what else can be done as Atlas having to try to barrel into the point.
Yeah, he's going to be able to get rid of one. Another Wonder able to get rid of a second, but the point flips over. This fight win was theirs, but the cap comes through, and Kessoku could not be more blessed.
Yeah, not more blessed indeed here. Kessoku doing exactly what they need and getting out tons of tools here. Fallen, now trying to hold on top of the cart. At the very least, Fallen are already in time bank advantage and trying to do exactly what they can here. Atlas is going to be able to hold forward again, though.
Oh, 110%. And now Perf hit with that anti. Has to run for the hills. Will be able to stay alive. Deadeye activated. Nobody going down as a result. Edgymom does take a ton of damage from it, but is able to restabilize. Can't say the same for Riku and Benno, who have both been taken out. Spectre has that blade ready to go. Could be looking to rock and roll. Going to be sent in. Is going to get rid of one, and one might be enough. Make it two. Hoping to get the hat trick. As we're going to see Kessoku move forward. 3:40 on the clock. It's still Nano Annihilation. Deadeye available.
Yeah, considering the Fallen doesn't have any really defensive tools to be able to stop this payload or stop these ultimates even, it's just going to sort of be a pain in the side here as Atlas, again, barreling down towards trying to complete with a similar time bank.
Yeah, and just trapping everybody in a room, trying to get one more punch on the Nyan, who just isn't going to be able to survive. Everyone being kept in. Edgemon is just investing to make sure nobody gets out of this room. Nobody can help out Perp, but Benno's in the back getting 2 with the blade. It's a 3v3 situation. Bodies eventually need to go over on the cart, though. There needs to be long enough to stall, but they barely get on, and they're going to be cleared away. And Kessoku's going to finish this map, going to get the 2 minutes by default. Fallen's going to have an extra minute 22 on the clock, but considering how things ended for them on that first round, this is a fantastic comeback.
I'm so curious to what just happened in that final fight where Wander was trying to DPS when you still had a Cassidy alive that you easily could have pocketed to get defenders back in time. But that's just sort of a shoulda, woulda, coulda situation that you have to look in the rearview mirror on now. Atlas, a minute less in the time bank, but still time to work with here to be able to get the job done. They now know how Fallen likes to play this defense, which means Fallen is going to have to try to switch things up for this first point. But again, this is definitely not a situation that the Fallen expected themselves in. They probably rested on their laurels a little too early with that massive time bank they built. And now, after being caught up to things, Atlas is going to have to find a way to get back into this. And it could be the Zarya that they've been hiding all series long.
It'd be really interesting. Obviously, I think we're not going to truly know until we get out the gate here that Winston didn't work out too well earlier. Perhaps thinking that maybe Fallen is thinking that you're going to see something else come out, but no, that Winston is going to start things out. But unfortunately, the Fallen are pretty much rocking the same thing before that shut down the Winston, and Edgemon might see this and potentially go back and reset, but no, sticking with it for now.
Yeah, back onto this sort of dive composition here. We saw how it worked out for Atlas. Took a little bit of time, but they got the job done here. Oh, the Sticky's plus the nade lineup, absolutely massive for the entrance.
Yeah, nobody down as a direct result right now, but this is the first step being taken care of. No longer going to be able to pull down by that Ravenous Vortex, so Edgemon is going to have a potential opening here soon. No Mortality Field either, so this is as open as it's going to be, honestly. But Jump is going to come through into that back line, going to cause separation. Everybody in a weird area. Perf a little bit of separated from the crowd. Spectre is going to need a little bit of care, going to get hindered. Rough situation is to be able to make the way back up, but Edgemon has been taken care of first and foremost. Sticky's not going to catch on. Benno close to going down. He's going to be kept up, though, and now Atlas Kessoku. Rough situation. Edgemon will conform back to the Ramatra.
I don't agree with the conforming. I feel like you need to stick on the Winston here. You still have time to try to make this work. A beautiful nade lineup can be your opening. You just have to be able to follow it up here, but the decision has been made. It's now going to be an assault onto the high ground to try to push Perf off here, and already Perf feeling the pressure.
Yeah, and I like all the pressure being given right now.
Edgemon getting healed?
Just barely gets in one time, and now Perf is in literal no man's land. Immortality Field is there. Perf's taken care of. That slept out of the Deadeye. Massive as can be. And now able to shoot out. Potentially going to get rid of Dex, who is still hanging around, by the way. Has all the heals in the world, thanks to Nayamaki, who's extremely low. But now you can't even begin to peek in that situation as Dex running for the hills, trying to even restabilize. Going to be a tick online for Kessoku as the Fallen need to try to regroup.
They have to regroup for the overtime fight here. Atlas at the very last minute able to get the point capped here. A massive plus here, but they're going to need a bit more. They do have the rally as well as the Dragon Blade, but they're going to be pushing into a mirrored Dragon Blade as well as the Annihilation. Perf has a 10% lead on that. Edgemon going to be trying to build it.
Yeah, you're going to see that being solo thrown over there, and you're going to see this... These will go down. Eventually, Perf gonna go through this blade. Needs to be massive. Makes it back, but doesn't touch the point. And Edgemon was still alive. Got rid of multiple people. Yeah, I'd call that a C9. The spawn right there. This is a completely different game. Oh my god, that could be series defining right there.
Series season defining, even as you know, you were able to cap point A. That's not always a guaranteed. And we have to remember, Fallen on their initial attack got through on some cheese compositions. Atlas is going to be ready for that kind of strategy now. So so the question comes down to how Fallen wants to play this. So they go back to the cheese strat, see if they can actually catch them off guard a second time, find that lightning in a bottle another time? Or do they try to play something more tried and true here? Potential grand final trip on the line here. And it seems like the defenders are going to be gearing up, ready for some cheese strategies, but Fallen, at least with 20 seconds left in the attacker spawn, have decided that this is going to be the hill they choose to die on.
Yeah, and for the Fallen, this worked out beautifully before. There's no real reason for it to not in this situation, but the problem is that you have the lone wolf. Listen, that Ana can be read on so easily in the situation. If I am the Fallen and I see that Ana, I am TPing directly onto her and just trying to clear shop.
That's the hope and dream. Isolate a target, delete them from the game, and then go from there here. That being said, oh, bit of a fake strategy. They rotate through lower, oh, and it actually catches them off guard.
Yeah, but Benno gets just punched away. Doesn't work out too brilliantly. Rough situation, though. Riku somehow barely stays alive, by the by, as no one bothering to peek this, because there's no reason to peek this right here. I mean, Edgemom is the one pure exception right here. Pin goes through, trying to cause separation, but this is such an awkward spot for the Fallen to be. They need to get off the high ground. Dex goes down, everyone forced into a corner. Full collapse comes through. Riku does go down, but Riku should have a pretty quick recovery. Right now, if I'm Perf, I'm potentially trying to take somebody off this cliff, but I think he just needs to recover for now.
I mean, not only recover, just get out, right? You're absolutely sort of staggering yourself. So Fallen now having to switch off of that cheese strategy here, but the damage may have already been done. Atlas already built up to an annihilation here, just shy of rather for Edgemom, who's going to be able to sort of be the aggressor in this fight wherever the Fallen end up going. Having to meet that Renatra head on is almost certainly going to be a fight loss.
100%. Reaper is in. 2 minutes still on that clock, though. Perf committing to this Reaper. That shatter can be amazing down the line, but Benno is going super early. Edgemom already has Annihilation. It's really tempting using this room, but need to hold on to it for a different time. Perf separated on the high ground, should be taken care of in time. Actually gets out alive. That is massive.
That is massive here for Perf to be able to live, because it doesn't cause a delay. It allows the next fight to go on unimpeded here. And now that massive antidote.
Oh my god! And Wanda's gonna throw it out here, and it's gonna keep absolutely nobody alive. Edgemom is given the nano with the Annihilation, absolutely clears house. 3 ultimates still on the board here. Wanda makes a swap over to the Ana now. The Fallen are lost.
The Fallen are lost. They give up the Shatter, realizing they're not going to be able to assault these high grounds. So now, just a rally pushing into, look at this, a Blade, the Venture Ultimate, the Wuyong as well here. With less than a minute, Atlas could be finally putting together the hold they need.
Yeah, and you just want to commit and try to get something out here. You don't necessarily have to win this fight right here, but you need to get stuff out. And yeah, you're going to get out the Blade and that Tidal Blast right now. They're clear out very quickly. Dex taken care of. Everybody is going to die here. You don't manage to get rid of... Actually, you do get rid of the Ana here. Honestly, if I'm Perf right now, I'm not mad with this fight. You get out a majority of the ultimates. You build up towards double DPS with the rally. You have a real shot here.
Yeah, and especially the kill on the Ana is the most crucial thing. No speed in sight. That means that, you know, Sly is going to have to try their hardest to get back into position and most likely be in a suboptimal position for this fight start here. If this Ana can be found out, that's going to be Fallen's win con.
100%. You see the early Wraith right there from Benno, super low. Rally needs to come out. Wander is super low, though. You see the investment. Benno being taken out super early. Deadeye activated for Dex. Is going to be stunned momentarily, but is managing to get rid of Riku. Could be pulling this one back around. Edgemom, though, has all the heals in the world, all the sustain in the world. Sports still sitting alive, standing by, but Perf can't really commit dives, has to stay on this card. They're the one person who's not going to be instantly drained away. Mega, as they're committing over to the point, Benno still has a death loss at the availability, and Edgemom is in a bit of a rough situation, but is going to have a game-changing Annihilation around the corner. Perf extremely low. Eventually, Annihilation comes through. Gets rid of Never. Benno gets rid of 3 with the death loss, and they're clearing it away. Edgemom doesn't hang on. Point caps through, and that could be curtains.
Is anybody going to be... I think Riku is the only one who's respawned right now, and you see it in the distance. The Venture too far away, and it's done.
Oh my god. That is incredible. It comes down to the last fight. Nano, not even necessary. The Fallen move on to the grand finals. It comes down to a hair. It's just utter insanity. This was a series of all time on the season. Both these teams throwing everything in the kitchen sink out there. Unfortunately for Atlas Kessoku, they will have to pull it off in the losers finals.
The number 1 and number 2 seeds both banished down to the lower bracket in map 5 bangers by the Fallen, not living up to their name today, not falling just yet here. So incredibly close, map 5 in every single series, but the underdogs pull out yet again here. And so now they find themselves exactly where they want to be, a spot in the grand final secured after just an amazing series full of adaptation and changes and everything in between.
Yeah, I cannot wait to talk all about this here in a moment. I mean, Fallen pulling out an amazing victory here. It looked like they might have been falling apart at the final hour, but they break the curse, they strike through, they make it happen. And thankfully, we'll be able to talk to one or two of the members of the Fallen here in a moment. So we're going to cut to one more quick break. When we come back, we'll have a interview set up here for our victors of the series, the Fallen. Everybody, welcome back from the break once more. It has been an extremely long night here. A Map 5 series where the Fallen will be the first team moving on to the grand finals of the NA Masters tier. And joining us here for an interview, one of the victors, Perf. And first and foremost, you guys set my heart rate through the roof. But secondly, congratulations on a massive win and a spot in the grand finals.
Thank you so much. It was definitely a stressful game at moments, but we came through and pulled out the W.
100% y'all did, but obviously this has been a long series, so starting from the very beginning, what was kind of the mindset going into Atlas Kessoku after y'all make a really good run in the upper bracket? This is the team that you need to beat to get through, so what's just the mentality as you guys started out?
We had a couple of different comps in mind, and I think we just wanted to play our game and play solid. And when they go fast, they tend to have opportunities for us to exploit, and so we look to do that at every pass.
Okay. I mean, hey, listen, it absolutely worked out here. And, going throughout this series, there's definitely times that, like you said, you had to work fast, but also, uh, there's so many times that I felt like you guys had to be the more adaptable team, not just in terms of switching heroes, but just switching up your strategies and things like that. How do you maintain that, in these high pressure situations, knowing to keep calm and level headed in slot?
It's difficult at times. I think we always try to have like something in our back pocket. I'm not going to give away all the secrets, but we definitely try to have something like a plan B, so to speak. So it's definitely one of those games where you have to be adaptable. They had a lot of really good rotations, and so we just have to work around it, and we managed to make it work. It was fun to play the Reinhardt on the last map and kind of slam it down.
The Reinhardt slamming it down on the last map. That's funny. Taking a look beyond this series, though, just the bracket run you guys have had as a whole, I want to shout out because you've had to play upset a lot, pretty much the entire time. And it's not 5 every single time, but you close the gap and you get the job done here. I mean, how does that feel just to sort of constantly be the underdog? Like, do you just relish it at this point, or is it just still stressful every time?
I know everybody gives us the underdog, and I can live with it. We don't believe in it. We don't believe that we're underdogs. We believe we're number one. We believe we're always destined to be number one. Things happen, and it's been a crazy season, but it's definitely something that we have no problem taking it to map 5, as we've shown every single time, and we see when the chokes come out. So we'll make it work.
Yeah, and obviously just one game separating y'all from the championship, but of course, not going to be sure quite yet who your opponent's going to be. That lower final, obviously, Atlas Kessoku now down there with Visored. So just in your opinion, you can answer this one of other ways. It's either who you want to win or who do you think is going to win that game?
I'll give a shout out to Visored. They definitely play a pretty solid game, so I think it would be interesting to see them again, and wishing both teams all the best.
I love that answer, honestly. Let's go. But obviously, I'm sure after a long night, you probably want to celebrate with the team, maybe get some rest. But before we send you away, if there is just anybody you wish to thank or anything you just wish to say to those watching currently, you are free to do so.
Big shout out to my team, all of the leadership, Tool, No Name, everybody who has put in so much effort throughout this season, locking in mentals, keeping everybody balanced out. So we have a great team, and I just want to take a moment to thank them here on the stream, and looking forward to grand finals.
Yeah, we certainly are as well. So Perf, one final time, congratulations on the big win, and obviously best of luck with the grand finals.
Thank you.
All right, take care. I love that answer, by the way, Mega. I always try to throw like a little bit of a spice in there of saying who you think's gonna win, but no, just wish both teams the best of luck. I love it.
Listen, wishing luck to people who now both have a vengeance vendetta against you. I mean, like, I would say it's Aura, but like, I don't know if I have the confidence to be doing that. But regardless, I mean, that was just such a crazy series, start to finish here. Obviously later on in the evening, but I think fully worth it.
100%. Yeah, it is. It is 11:30 right now on the East Coast. Anyone who's EU, cough, cough, is currently dying right now. But obviously, it's been a long night. It's going to continue to be a long weekend coming up here. There's still plenty of CGL action, tons of games happening this weekend, a couple grand finals, as well as a lot of our divisions closing out. Still a couple that have some games to play yet, but obviously, there'll be plenty of CGL action throughout the entire weekend, including tomorrow and EU, which I'll be up for that. That shall be fun. But with that being the case, thank y'all for being here. Y'all help us. I mean, honestly, y'all are just amazing, pulling up for all these games every single time. It's an honor to have y'all here. We hope you stick around for the rest of the playoffs. But For the time being, have yourselves a fantastic night. We'll see you tomorrow for some more CGL action.
Cash and the ticket is yours.